With a huge round of applause, please welcome Kamalakannan.
Uh, Hello. Hope, yeah, I guess I'm audible. Cool. Thanks, Jess, for the quick intro. And yeah, um, and good morning. I guess I know it's a good session going on. I just want to see a small vibe check. Good morning. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so let's dive into the agenda for the talk, right? How many of you knows about this guy? Any show of hands? Yeah. I'm a huge fan of this guy, okay? So whenever we try to execute something, we plan a lot, and then we try to execute it, but it goes off the rail, right? Correct. So I keep always having a tap in my mind. Anything goes off rail, just stick it to it and see it through. So yeah. So the overall agenda for the talk is we'll try to understand the basics of XState and the core concepts, and then we'll have a small quick demo to understand how we can able to leverage it to simplify the logic and making our life easier, right? And also not about being a developer amongst a set of groups. You might have a mixed set of people from junior developers, intermediate to senior developers, right? Correct. So how we can able to make their life easier, and then we'll see some real examples for the validation, right? This is the overall agenda for the talk. Yeah, how many of you know like XState? Like, have you heard of this term? Wow, that's nice, cool. But when I got introduced, this was my exact reaction when I look into it. Like, what? And since like throughout the talk, we are able to see a lot of state management tool, right? Correct. So that's how when I understood like what is XState, it's all about. It's nothing but a simple visual state management and orchestration library. So I know there's again a new jargon of visual state management, right? We'll see through it. And the another interesting part which I able to understand after deep diving is like it's completely based on event-driven programming. Again, this paradigm is nothing to break it down to simple. I guess everybody knows about publisher-subscriber model, right? Something similar to that. That is how it's simple, and we can able to understand it pretty much faster as well. And the reason behind XState, it's making more easy to understand is like the way it helps visually understand the entire state flow of your application through the state charts. So that way you can able to visualize the entire state application. And I thought about building a simple example and showcasing it, I guess, and I couldn't able to do it in a much easier way. So I thought, okay, let's try to use the documentation example itself, right? It's pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward, right? Now you just imagine like this dog is a state in your application, right? It is right now, it's sleeping, and once it is awake, it's goes to a new state, right? Now, when we try to write this in a code, we use states, or we keep it in a context, or we keep it in a Redux, and we try to see this. But let's say this code is written like 5 years back now. I want to come back and see it right away. Now, you need to see source to the files, need to understand. But how we can able to visualize it easily, right? That's where the state charts comes into picture. Whatever the code you write, the way it tries to help you to translate in this fashion using the state chart, where it helps you to visualize all the states transition happening within your entire application, right? So yeah, now let's dive into a simple the core concept of the entire XState, right? As we spoke, like we saw the state machines which represents the state and the transitions around it, right? So again, the core concept of the entire state machine lies around the states, events, transitions, and then the actions towards it. Now, here the state is also very much similar to how we maintain our application state within the components as well, right? It can be a state level, it can be component level, or it can be the application level states as well. And the events, again, can be happening a very simple, as I described here, it can be a single button click on which we can able to need to trigger a set of side effects we need to handle towards it. Those side effects are nothing but the transition which will happen, right, throughout your application. And last but the action. So when you do the transitions, especially, I guess most of the developers right now will be you might have used Redux a lot, and you might have been introduced middlewares to understand what exactly happening between those actions I want to introduce something. For example, a best example you can remember is the logger, right? When you introduce the logger middleware with Redux, any state transition happening previous and after, you can able to log it and able to visualize it, correct? So that way, that is similar to the actions over here, which will be executed between the transitions. I hope I'm not going too fast. I guess everybody able to bear with me. Cool. Yeah. Let's dive into a simple quick demo. So this demo is completely comprising of, I want to start showcasing a very, very common use case. I guess most of the application will have, especially for a single page application, will be the login, right? And it differs for certain product use cases, right? So that's why here I'll be just getting a user input, and based on it, user will be authenticated and identified is it a new user or existing user, and how we can able to handle it, right? Now, for example, for authentication, you might go with the password or with an OTP. Now, as you can see, like I just said, it's login. Now, as the product builds, the use case is also built into on top of it with one entry point, with multiple handling. Like now, password came, and after the OTP came into picture, now I want to add open auth as well. Now, as you can see, a simple login itself can be complicated or can be able to have multiple features on top of it. How I can able to visualize it, right? Correct. Uh, Still, it's not visible. Sorry. Yeah. Hope everyone can able to see my screen. Cool. So here, like first I'll showcase a simple new user login flow. As I said, the user will be logging in with an email, and post receiving an email, the subsequent set of actions are we can able to simulate it, right? So first I'll receive the email input and check the user status, whether is it an existing user or a new user altogether. Since currently I'm just showing a demo of the new user itself, as soon as I validate, I got to know he is a new user altogether, and post that what exactly happens. Now I can, since it's a new user, we didn't got any password from him to progress. So by default, we want to authenticate with his mobile number to get the OTP, and then going ahead, right? Again, now whenever you do OTP, the use case again get increases. Now sometimes a user mobile's receiver might not have a proper connection, so that the time taken to get the OTP might get delayed. So user might try to have a retry as well. Now you need to have a track on top of it, how many times user can try to have a retry. Then again, the last thing, how we can able to guard it. As you can see, like a simple small use case, how we try to build up into multiple parts, how we need to think about it and need to keep a track and all the stuffs, right? Correct. Now, every developer will have been faced this and able to complete it in a different way, and we are able to achieve it. But now you come back and I need to see all the transitions and what are the things that are happening. I need to have a control over it, right? That's where I guess XState gives us an edge, where we can able to visualize all these things through proper state transitions with the state charts. So I'm just going with a happy flow right now. As soon as the user OTP verifies, we collect his user information, we register him, and then we check whether his device has the passkey support in case. Let's say some other constraint he couldn't able to support it, we'll directly say it's a user login failure. Then as login fails, we will be prompting back to the login flow again. So is it clear, or like do we need to zoom it more? Cool. Now let's go with the other flow. The same new user, when it comes into picture, now he's trying to add a retrying with the OTP, right? Since he didn't got the OTP. Now I need to keep and track as well how many times the user is trying to retry as well, right? This is what we generally call it guarding, right? Or like if somebody is trying to brute force into our application, we don't want to spoil too much OTPs, which is also costing for us as well, right? We keep on track how many times the user can retry within a session. So these all things will also we can able to visualize it easily with proper conditions, and then we can able to check it over here, right? And as you can see, there is a if-else condition which you can able to read it right away. If the retry is exceeded, then I directly go into login failure case. If the retry limit is not exceeded, then I directly, after the OTP is verified, then I go to the profile collection stage, get the user data, and then proceed easily, right? Now you can see like a simple login for a new user, how big the transitions are happening. Now let me unreveal for the existing user how the flow will also change, right? Yep. As you can see, like as soon as I enable the flow for the existing user as well, there are two different transaction happens as soon as the user input is done, right? You get the user input, now you check the status whether user is a new user or existing user. Since we already saw the new user flow, let's deep dive into the existing user flow. I'm going to the existing user. Now since user is already registered within our application, he might directly have the password remember or he might not remember his password, right? Then we need to support both those use cases as well right away. Now let's go with I forgot my password. So then since we already authenticated with his mobile number, we directly ask him to verify with his mobile number and then proceed ahead. The same OTP verification flow will happen over here, which we can able to reuse, right? And as soon as the OTP verified, then passkey is enrolled, we allow the user to go into the authentication and he can able to enter the application right away, right? Now let's try the passkey supported very happy flow for the existing user. He remembers his password. Now he, again, as I can see, I have added some other nodes as user passkey and all. This is again very application specific and your product specific use cases, right? I just wanted to add it here to mention like these are some extra steps which you might recompute at your end to do it. So as soon as user has the passkey, we verify it and it's success, then it goes into the login flow, right? I know this is a huge thing. Some of the developers might be seeing it for the first time, but now you can able to see like how this entire state chart has been constructed with just a simple JSON, right? So if you look at in my left side of the code, XState helps us to write in a very, very simple and a beautiful way, right? So how, as I said, state machine is nothing but it can able to handle what exactly happened to my state based on the transition, the event which I received towards it, right? Correct. So I always have an initial state where through which my machine will be transiting. So my initial state is to always receive an input and accordingly able to act on it, right? If you remove my point, like it's not also about mostly about your visual state machine part, it also helps you to orchestrate. So the term orchestration here means is like when you try to orchestrate your entire application of now SPS has been growing a lot, right? Now your application might be having the state, it might be too much as the features add on. Now you want to control it. How are you able to orchestrate it easily, right? Correct. That's where like state management tool comes into picture. You will have a unified data flow and through which the entire state will be handled and you can able to maintain it easily, right? Now the only X factor which was missing for us to visualize it easily, that's where XState helps us to do it with the state machines. And they were with V4 to V5, there were some migrations. Now V5 is pretty much stable and it's pretty easy for us to understand as well. And it has solved majority of the use cases as well. And so yeah, so as we saw in the live demo, right? So it helps us to handle all the complexities as a simple feature can have multiple features on top of it. Now you still have a track of how the things will be flowing into our application, right? What this actually leverage for all the set of developers within a team, right? Correct. First, it helps you to maintain your code easily and keep a track of things which is changing. So the one way rudimentary we try to do it with proper PRs and we try to understand, okay, or else to have a control on top of it, we write test cases to check whether all the existing thing doesn't break on how the new things are also getting added, right? Correct. This, with the XState comes into picture, you can able to structure your code in a much easy way and orchestrate the entire context, keep it outside and orchestrate and keep it simple, right? And this also helps you to write test cases easily and able to adapt. So yeah, and we'll, before even I had some hesitation before deep diving into XState, right? Then I trying to do a bit of researches and where these been right now used, right, a lot. So Cypress, they were using in a real world example called this real world app where they built a complete application using XState to manage the entire orchestration for the state part of it, and they handled it. And the other which inspired me a lot is the Bridge 21 use case, right? Correct. So this was inspired as soon as I understood the base concept of it, and they tried to handle the entire data flow and the API calls only through XState, so that all this logic within your component becomes dummy. And what exactly React does is helps you to whatever you share with it, you render it easily. That makes it a bit more performant. All the computation part, it's orchestrated and it kept with an XState, and you still can able to visualize it and able to control it, right? This is where the X factor comes, and they can able to orchestrate, right? Now, with these, all the idea points kept into picture, how we leverage it within our company for certain set of products like campaign and referral management products, is like we had a lot of dynamic forms, right? Correct. I know when we hear dynamic forms, it's a really pain, right? To maintain all this context and help to leverage, right? And another big challenge is like when you onboard new developers within your team, you want to have your KT knowledge and then ask them to read the PRDs and see the Figmas, but still it wouldn't be enough even after seeing the videos. As in turn, they touch with to see the transitions, like even from the STA talks from Palak as well, image speaks 1,000 words, right? And they can able to remember it easily. So that's where this XState we were able to leverage and able to handle the dynamic form easily with the context, and thus they can able to understand the easier transition between the dynamic flows from one start to other journeys as well. And if you want to see more of these applications, you can directly visit the XState GitHub, where a lot of companies right now, they are using it a lot and they're loving it as well. So yeah, I guess with that, I'll conclude my talk. Hope you had got some new ideas around it and will be looking forward for your innovation. Thank you.